Good morning. This is Normandy Ellis and Mary Beth Hadaway, and we're interviewing Eugene Corkell. Today is August the 10th, 2017.
Morning.
Thank you. We're going to have Mary Beth ask you a couple of questions about some of the older mediums that you knew.
Let's start about who lived in the houses like we were talking about earlier. What can you tell us about the Judith Davis house and her sister Phyllis?
Well, Judith, Phyllis, and her mother. I don't remember what her mother's name was, but Phyllis was a psychic artist. She also worked here on the grounds as maintenance on groundskeeping. She mowed yards and
Well, I had heard that she did a very good job with the groundskeeping.
she done an excellent job on groundskeeping, and also was a wonderful artist.
What kind of art did she do?
Psychic art, just
Drawing,
drawings of.
not blot art, but actual drawings. Okay. What about, now who lived in the house that Steve Dillon's living in now?
Before Steve there, it was Hoyt.
Okay.
Hoyt remodeled that. I don't remember who had it before Hoyt.
Okay.
Some Rose rings a bell there that I don't remember.
Okay.
It's just a little bit before me.
Now, Jim Day used to live in the yellow house next to the bookstore until he got that one.
Right,
And his wife was a medium.
right. And she also worked in the administration office too. She was secretary for a while.
Which wife was that?
His first.
What
I
was-
don't
yeah,
remember.
you
I
don't
don't
remember
remember
her name?
Can't remember her name. I believe it started with an M, but I don't.
Okay.
And then when he remarried, he married Jerry. She was a good medium too.
Now, what kind of work did Jim do?
He was more of a clairvoyant work. He done a lot of, and he also worked on the phones. He done a lot of phone readings back in the day.
Okay, what about John and John Eva?
Jim and John Eva
Jim
York.
and John Eva, yeah. Do you remember Jim?
Jim was, yeah, I remember him. He worked for the railroad. He was an excellent golfer, and he done foot reflexology.
Oh.
Okay.
What did John Eva do?
Clairvoyant. She was,
Mostly stand-up.
Yeah.
Yeah. And she's still around here, though none of us ever see her.
Yeah, she's still here. Yeah.
Well, who lived in the house that they tore down and created the parking lot there?
Glenda Clark. She was a medium here, a clairvoyant medium.
And the house that Normandy lives in was, who was that originally that you remember there?
Gladys Strom.
Gladys Strom.
She had it before Willis Ward.
Yes.
Okay. Tell us about Gladys.
An excellent trumpet medium. She was here for a long time, and then she also served the church in, what was it, Norfolk?
Virginia.
Yeah.
Uh-huh. And she came to the Brotherhood too?
Oh yes, she come when we'd have
Teaching.
seminars at the Brotherhood. Gladys would come down. Several of the camp mediums would come down. Drawing a blank here.
Austin
Yeah,
Wallace.
Austin Wallace would come down, Evelyn Regal, Clifford Bias, Charlie Swan, Ralph Jordan, Harold Aarons. Several of the mediums here on camp would come down and serve the Brotherhood during their seminars. And a couple of them, Ralph Jordan, Harold Aarons, they were two of the founders of the Brotherhood with Marie Trump and Pat Cooper.
But they lived here at one time?
Harold and Ralph did. Marie Trump and Pat Cooper, they was from southern Indiana, New Albany area, Charlestown. They both served here at one time or another, but they didn't live here.
What would you remember about Charlie Swan?
Precipitation on silk. He was and a trumpet medium.
I know that he did scotographs,
Yeah,
but I didn't know he did silks.
yeah, he done silks and one of his seances he could bring through one of the biggest Indians I've ever seen in his seance.
What about Austin Wallace? What would you remember about him?
He a funny guy.
Is he funny?
Yeah, he was. He had a real good sense of humor about him. There again, an excellent trumpet medium. Done a lot of good work. Was president of the camp at one time.
Oh, okay.
Did he have that house that John Bunker had? That was on Parkview? Or did he ever have that house? Before he took Louise's house?
Louise's.
Well, what was Louise's house now? I thought Austin Wallace lived there.
No, Austin Wallace lived next door to Susie Greer.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Virginia Spellman's house.
Virginia Spellman's
Yeah.
house,
Okay.
right, yeah.
And then after that was Don Dugar?
Don Dugar. Yeah. Don had, actually Don had lived in 3 houses here on the grounds.
Really?
That one, the A-frame down on the corner, he owned that. And that was the last house he lived in. And the first house he lived in was the stone house,
Julie's.
Julie Feresi's house now.
Did you know Anthony and Tony Feresi?
Yes.
You did? Because, well, what would you remember about him, anything?
I remember he used to do a painless gig with a fox trap that he'd set the trap, put his hand in there, and it'd go off and there was no pain. He could put himself in a state where it created no pain.
Wow.
And was also an excellent card player.
Aha, well there you go.
And Julie too.
She still is. What about, which house did Ruby Klutz live in? Elaine Clark's?
Yes, the one that oh shit, can't think of her name. Elaine Clark had the house, and Jane, the house that Jane has now.
Okay.
Ruby lived in there. Before she moved there, she lived in a house across the street, which was
Pamela's?
Pam Beluche's house.
Okay.
So tell me a little bit about Ruby. Do you remember her?
Yes, she before she came here, she owned a place in Tennessee that was like a bed and breakfast. Took care of a lot of elderly people. An excellent trumpet medium. She done a lot of work on. I've seen her do a lot of work on the stage of the cathedral and the cabinet.
Wow.
Done a great job, as far as I can remember. Yeah, it's been a while.
What can you tell us about Evelyn Carr?
Not that familiar with Evelyn Carr. I knew that she done clairvoyant readings, but not real familiar with her work.
Well, she did card writing as well.
Okay.
Okay. The house that Glenda's in now, is it true that part of that house was built around the original gatehouse? Is there a piece of that in her house?
I'm not familiar
You're not familiar with that story?
with that, but if there's any truth of that at all, it would be in the book of Chesterfield.
Okay. What about...
Who lived in that house before Glenda?
Ralph Jordan, Harold Aarons, I remember them.
Okay.
And Nadine?
Nadine Dillon, Nadine and Steve Dillon lived there. That's the only ones I can remember right now.
Did you know Bill English?
Yes, Bill lived there too.
Yeah. Did you ever go to any of Bill's seances?
I've been to several of Bill's seances. I had classes with Bill. I've got one of Bill's trumpets.
Okay, coming up Parkview. What do you remember about Phyllis Kennedy?
There again, clairvoyant. She also done a lot of fairs, Native American fairs that she set up to, and she done a lot of ceramic artwork.
Yes, she did. What about her aunt that lived there before? Virginia?
Virginia Falls.
Yes.
Not, I just know the name, not too familiar with her herself.
Okay, but Virginia Falls was not the same as Andy Devine's wife, Virginia, correct? That's two different people?
That's two different people. That's Andy
Okay.
and Virginia Divine.
All right. What do you remember about them?
Both of them were great healers, working together. When you went to Andy for a healing, you end up with Andy and Virginia. Andy would stand at the head of you, you'd be horizontal. Andy would be at the head of you, Virginia would be at the foot, and you could just feel the vibration. I mean, you actually vibrated when they was working on you. You knew things were happening. They were good at what they did. They were good instruments.
Do you remember who lived in the house that Patricia Kennedy has now?
No.
That goes way back. doesn't
Yeah,
it?
it's Pat got here about the same time I did, so
Okay.
and it seems like I remember a name, but I'm not sure. It's,
Did you know Keith Clark's mother?
yes.
What was her name?
Mom.
Mom. I like that. And she lived in that house as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Where Keith, there, yeah.
Okay.
And did you go to any of Keith's drumming circles? And can you tell us about that?
Oh, not really. I passed through, but as far as really hanging out with it, no, I didn't. He done a lot of shows with my daughter on drumming and Indian artifacts and stuff like that that they would set up together. Marie.
Yeah.
Who used to live in the house that belongs to Angela Foxsong? That little house.
Oh,
It sprung one on you, didn't it?
yeah, and I can't think of their name. Isn't that bad?
Was it Sharon and her husband?
Sharon and Gene.
Last name? What's their last name?
Powell. Sharon
Powell.
and Gene Powell.
Okay. Okay.
And Sharon lived back here behind camp for several years after they sold the house to Angela.
Let's see. Do you remember who lived in Susie Greer's house before Susie Greer?
No one. When they bought the house, wasn't quite finished, and Susie and Paul finished the house.
Wow.
But where their house sits is where the original administration office on camp sat.
Talk a little bit about Susie. What you remember about Susie, because no one's mentioned that yet. I'd like to know.
A wonderful medium. Susie's a gal that could think outside the box. She had ideas that were just unbelievable, and she could follow through with them. She had a group of people that would work with her students. They made a lot of things happen here on camp that wouldn't have happened without Susie. She was an excellent trumpet medium, a good clairvoyant. She's done a couple different videos on tarot cards. My book, I'm kind of prejudiced. I'd say she's probably, in my time, one of the best mediums on camp. And I could get in trouble for that, but that's okay.
Well, it's an opinion.
It's an
good.
opinion. And we definitely do miss her.
Yeah, we do.
What about Carolyn Temple's house?
Harold and Dave, they remodeled that house. I don't remember who had it before them. Harold worked in a bookstore here, done a good job there.
Okay.
Phyllis.
Phyllis Harrison.
Phyllis
Tell
Harrison.
us about Phyllis.
Astrologer, and good. She could rattle it off just like, it was there. She could take your name, date, birth, and just read you right up one side and down the other, and was very accurate.
Great.
And she had a woman that worked with her that
Was that Ellen McReynolds?
Ellen McReynolds, and was just as good as an astrologer as Phyllis was, and then also done palmistry.
Did you know her mother, Lillian D?
Lillian D, no. She was just a little bit before my time.
Let's see, what else? What about Win Srogi's house? Or did Win come about the same time you did?
Wynn was here about the same time. I can't remember the people's name that had that house. When they left camp, they moved up on the corner of camp, up on 32 and Hall Street. They're on the corner. But Wynn and Shirley, when they came in, Shirley was an astrologer, and Wynn too. And, when they started coming here, they was actually come out of, I believe, Michigan. When they came down, and they would come down and set up. They was one of the first people around that had a computer, and they'd come in and do astrology on the computer at the Maxon cafeteria during psychic fairs. and then ended up purchasing this place. They would come down here and live in it. They had a camper trailer, and they'd come down and stay for a while, and then end up buying their house, and been here ever since.
Tell a story about Emma Kruger that owned this house we're in. And you can tell about the organ if you want.
No, that's all right.
Okay. Okay, we're gonna skip. We're
We're
gonna
gonna
skip
skip this
that.
house.
We'll skip that.
Who lived in the trailer that Rebecca's living in now?
Oh. Don't remember.
That's all right.
Don't remember.
How about across the street? Tell us something about Vincent DeCarlos.
Vincent DeCarlos was, he was a trumpet medium. He done clairvoyant. He done a regular occupation. He was a hairstylist. He also owned a landscaping business in Michigan. And at the present time, he's in Arizona, serving a church out there.
He's still alive.
Yes, and he's also my daughter's grandfather, stepfather,
Goddaughter.
godfather. There you go. I'll get it down.
What about his next door neighbor, Sarah Brown? Would you like to say something about Sarah Brown?
Just an excellent medium. She worked here several years. She also owned a restaurant in Shelbyville. Done a lot of readings in Shelbyville in the off time. She owned a gift shop called the Mystic Rose in Greenfield. Another medium we're gonna miss.
Yeah.
She was a funny thing on platform. She just entertained everyone.
She was a Georgia peach.
What do you remember about Ed Ice and Ursie Ice?
Just that I remember,
Just-
and didn't Ursie do table tipping? Didn't that where
Where I got the tape.
you got the table from for table tipping?
Okay, next to them is... Oh, tell us about Esther Milburn. No one ever speaks of Esther.
Esther was a handwriting analysis. She done good clairvoyant readings. She also wrote a book about camp. And where she lived, she also took in resident boarders. But her house was, the upstairs was a rental. And she picked up a lot of the overflow when camp was full.
Do you remember who had Todd Leonard's house before Todd?
Yeah, but I keep thinking of the name.
All right.
What was his name?
Was it George Andrews?
George Andrews. Christopher and Katrina. Well, yeah, I know Katrina did. She used to go down there and get, my daughter used to go down to George. And he was always had cookies for the kids.
Oh.
Well, Christopher went down there too.
Yeah. Tell us about the log cabin on the end. Who do you remember from there?
Lillian Majors. Clairvoyant. She was a Huna teacher. And that's basically a little bitty thing. Yeah, she wasn't very big. And her husband, I don't remember his name, but he also worked for the railroad.
Okay, in the A-frame across the street.
Well, Sarah Brown owned it before her. Don Dugar lived there.
Was that before Magdalene Carvey?
Yes. Dugar sold it to Madeline. Madeline Carvey sold it to Sarah.
Okay.
So tell me about Don Dugar.
Don was a clairvoyant. His wife Beverly was also a clairvoyant. He, when he left here, I think he went to Florida.
Sunshine Camp.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah.
Tell her about Don's razzle dazzle.
I'll pass.
Okay. Okay.
Some things you just don't want on tape.
Okay. And you don't want to talk about the water balloon fight either.
No.
Okay.
Those are some good stories.
They are.
We can talk about pumps and
No, let's not. Go ahead. You have some questions.
I wanted to know, you said Wynn was here when you were studying here. You came here at the same time. Who were some of the other people that were in your class, we'll call it?
well, at the time, I'm going to say early 80s, late 70s when I got here, I believe. Wynn and Shirley, Paul and Suzanne Greer, Pat Kennedy, Barbara Loft, of course myself and my wife Barbara. That's the ones I can remember that kind of showed up all at the same time.
And Barbara Loft still has a house here between the chapel and the Maxon cafeteria. How long has she had that house?
Oh, probably 15 years, 12, 15 years
Yeah,
at
you
least.
remember who had it before her?
Yeah, I don't remember her name. She didn't have a whole lot to do with camp, but she was she worked for she was a truant officer in Anderson.
That would be Rebecca McKee.
Rebecca McKee.
And that was the McKee cottage since before 1910.
Right, I've seen their names in the records, the McKees. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to ask you about the Maxon. All right, so that building has had a lot of people pass through and work through it. What are some of the events that you remember about the Maxon that were exciting and interesting?
Well, we used to have a banquet at the first of the season. When the season opened, it opened with the banquet, which was always an excellent night, benefit, entertainment. They had all kinds of different themes for the year. Some of the food that's come out of there is excellent. The main cook that I can remember being there was Malcolm Cobb, and he just passed July the 1st of last year.
Oh, wow. Did he have a specialty?
He was just a good cook all around. I mean, there were some real good meals that come out of there.
Yeah.
Him and his wife, Linda.
Now, was the ice cream parlor going at the time that you first came here?
No. When I come, the merry-go-round was closed.
Okay. All right. And you worked with the bookstore for a while. You want to tell us a little bit about your experiences there?
Well, Barbara, my wife and I, we took over the merry-go-round and turned it into a gift shop, bookstore gift shop, and called it Odyssey 2. And from Odyssey 2, it got transferred around to me, and it was called Silver Star. And from Silver Star, the camp took it back over, and that's Tree of Life.
Was it always in the same location when you had it?
Yes,
Okay.
that used to be where it's at. Where the Tree of Life is at is what used to be the merry-go-round.
Uh-huh.
They've done a little remodeling. It used to be all windows all the way around. Now it's solid.
Oh. I see. Okay, anything else you want to tell us about?
Not that I can think of right offhand.
All right,
That's
let
just,
me ask you one more question. What was probably, let's say, in a good way, we'll say, what was your most memorable seance that you attended here?
It'd be a toss-up between Gladys Strom and Susie Greer. It just, the ones that, the people that were brought through with Gladys Strom was other than myself, no one else knew what Gladys was giving me. I mean, it was just unbelievable and knocked socks off. I just,
Wow.
a wow, yeah, it was really a wow. And if there was ever any doubt, it was gone then. And Susie, as well as we knew each other, she would still come up with stuff that just unbelievable. An excellent trumpet medium.
Did you do any airport seances?
Not here.
Not here. Okay.
No, I had Charlie Swan done the airport, but it was at the Brotherhood.
At the Brotherhood?
Yeah.
Yeah. Just describe what that was like, because we don't do airport seances here anymore, so tell me
Well,
what that was.
You'd go in and down at the Brotherhood, everything we done down there was in the red light. And there would be something materialized out of the trumpet into your hands. You'd be asked to hold your hands out in front of you in a cup, and when it was all over with, you had something in your hand, whether it was a ring, a stone. You just never knew until the lights came on what you had. And, very exciting. I mean, it's something you just don't forget.
Yeah.
And some of I got a stone one time that was so hot that I couldn't hold on to it. I had to keep tossing it back and forth.
Wow.
Unreal.
Well, Corky, thank you for
Thank you.
talking with us. I appreciate it.